What's being called the largest natural gas find in a decade, that by Houston-based Noble Energy, is causing an international incident. The find is off the coast of Israel. Everybody wants in on it, and among those looking to get in, Hezbollah, on the U.S. State Department's list of terrorist organizations. And just today, the Lebanese government, heavily influenced by Hezbollah, got the UN involved. So let's talk about this. Here now is Delphi Global Analysis founder and former senior advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney, David Wurmeser, along with CNBC contributor John Kilduff, a partner with, again, Capital. First of all, David Wurmeser, this natural gas find off of Haifa, how exactly is Lebanon, Hezbollah, going to stop Israel Noble from doing it? That's the part I don't get. How are they going to stop them?
Well, I can understand why you don't get it, because I'm a little bit skeptical that Hezbollah will really have the means to do so. I mean, Israel's been around 60 years. It's had major infrastructure that's been vulnerable. It's never been hit. Israel's been pretty good at protecting its infrastructure, number one. And number two, most of these things eventually are going to be all subsea structures under a mile of water, other than those that hit the coast. And I just don't think that they necessarily have the capability to go down that deep. Israel already has to protect some very sensitive things in that area deep down. They're pretty good at it. So I'm skeptical about the capabilities of Hezbollah to really target this. And I'm also somewhat skeptical that,
okay, hang on
the
a
legal.
Second. Let me go to John Kilduff. John, look, appealing to the UN, I don't know what that means. If Israel wants to explore and lift and produce this find, if Noble Energy or somebody else is going to work with them, then why can't they just go ahead and do it, take Hezbollah and Lebanon off the books? Iran is broke anyway. They can't finance this anymore. It's a whole new game.
It's a whole new game, and the Israelis will go for it. This is a good old-fashioned minerals battle that's going to be brewing here as to where the lines are drawn, where this underground reservoir lies. I mean, Iran and Iraq fight over these sorts of pools of oil all the time, as it is now. It's just that this brings the stakes up so much higher now. And depending on the infrastructure, I agree with the other guests. If it's undersea, much easier to protect.
What's the size of this natural gas find, more or less? Do you have any idea? It is, in fact, one of the largest that we know of.
It's about 70% of U.S. Reserves, so it's huge.
And we have huge reserves, so this is a gigantic thing.
It's aptly named in the Leviathan.
All right, in the Leviathan, I like that. David, let me ask you this. Sure. Part of the story that I don't get is Israel's apparent desire to heavily tax Noble, the energy company that would develop this awesome natural gas find. I don't get that. You got to explain to me. I thought Mr. Netanyahu was more of a supply sider than this. What do they hope to achieve by jacking up taxes on natural gas?
Well, I think a lot of the laws in Israel are obsolete, and they need to revisit them. They were set in 1952, and at a time when Israel was pretty young, and they've had a lot of resource scarcity, so these things have never really been revisited. So pretty much everybody understands these things are going to have to be rewritten. The real question is it going to be fair? And I think you've got pretty reasonable people on both sides here. Pretty impressive people, in fact, on both sides. I think what you're seeing really is a process. It can be messy at times, but it'll be worked out. The Israeli government is really determined to have this gas flow. They're not going to do anything to sabotage it. It's too important.
So, John, let me just go back to this issue. The Israeli government wants to do it. Noble wants to do it. Is there any possibility that Lebanon/Hezbollah, who runs Lebanon, could get their hands on this new gas find? Is there any? I mean, sure. Iran, obviously, in the oil and gas business going back, but they're losing ground substantially because they're growing broke. Iraq, on the other hand, looks like it's going to have tremendous oil and gas development. What are the chances that Hezbollah could get their paws, so to speak, on this gigantic gas find and cause unbelievable mischief?
Well, Iran, of course, handcuffed as well because of the sanctions regime. Their own gas development in the Pars field has been significantly retarded because they rely on France's expertise, particularly in that area, and they've pulled back. But what you're going to have here is, are they going to make mischief? And it's Hezbollah/Iran. Let's call that what it is. They're a client state. And again, this is their arch enemy in Israel. So at what point, if Israel starts to make a huge bounty off this, look for it to be the #1 target.
So they'll try to blow it up. That's the bottom line.
That's right. It's because there's no people involved. They'll make an environmental catastrophe, try to blame Israel, and push back on that front.
And just the last piece quickly on the tax piece. David was optimistic optimistic Israel and Noble can make a deal in the last 15 seconds. Can they make a deal satisfactorily?
I would submit to you that there's much worse deals out there, whether you're dealing with Venezuela, Nigeria, whomever. The Israeli deal, the price is going to go up, but the price is worth it.
We got to get out. David Wurmeser, John Kilduff.